all of us have superpowers, but almost all of us also have our kryptonite. And usually they come from the same place. Our superpowers are almost always the things that we realized we needed or decided we needed to get really fucking good at to make it in this world, to survive. That our okayness in this life was dependent on us doing that thing really well. And some of us get so good at it that it actually also becomes the thing that leads to our greatest successes. For some people, that superpower is making money. And oftentimes, the people who are really, really amazing at making money often started from a place of not having that money, and that making money was going to solve all their problems. Or even if they had some money, that there was financial insecurity for whatever reason. Some of us are perfectionists. They realize that if you could do things without fault, that no one could critique, that you did nothing wrong, that you would be safe. For some of us, it was being really funny, that comedy was our way to diffuse tension, to kind of make ourselves feel safe if environments weren't safe, that there was anger, that there was aggression, that there was maybe even violence. And comedy or humor could be a way to get everybody at ease and lighten things up. A lot of comedians talk about growing up in really challenging, abusive households and how humor was their way out. For me, it was observing my surroundings and getting a sense of what was real, and understanding who I was dealing with so that I could anticipate what might be coming next. And of course, I can't predict people in the future and anticipate exactly what's going to happen. But my superpower became kind of reading the body language and facial expressions and tone and people's slight mannerisms to understand what the temp check was, what vibe I was getting, what emotion they might be feeling. And so I guess mine in short be called emotional temperature or trying to know what's true in a person, because I grew up around a lot of emotional volatility, tons of unpredictability around how a mood might change in a room, or how my parents, even if no words were said, what was going on and how I needed to respond as a result. Anyhow, for each of us, we often lean into then that thing because we start practicing it when we're really young, when we're still forming who we are and our sense of the world is still being shaped, and we're still understanding what's happening around us, through these lenses. And as a kid, or even as a teenager or a young adult, you start to identify these skills or habits or superpowers that can be the thing that makes life easier, that gets you what you want. Then you're going to keep doubling down on that, right? You double down on your strengths. And over time, that thing leads you to success. And it becomes the thing that it's even though I got it, even though there were circumstances under which I had to use this skill that were ideal or were unfortunate or were painful even, look where it's led me, right? And we often think about how we're grateful, or I hear people often say how grateful they are, how much they appreciate the difficulties that they had to experience or endure to get to where they are because they wouldn't be where they are otherwise. Which, not discounting that may be true, but where the kryptonite comes in is because our superpowers are often born out of necessity or pain or survival or difficulty. We have a charge behind them. There's a thing that drives the superpower in a way that can always go a little dark or operate from a place of fear or a place of lack. Because until we heal the thing that is the source of the kryptonite, until we address like where that fear, drive, fuel came from and understand it and can alleviate our, not that you don't feel pain from it, but alleviate the fear entering the present, that superpower, that kryptonite will always be a part of it. And so until we can fully extract the fear or the pain that kind of sits behind that superpower, it's always at risk of failing us. And I don't mean in a way where you will always succeed in any situation if you were to remove this pain. That's not what I mean. I just mean that the drive behind it can fail us at times. This is where people who get really successful, who make all the money that they need, yet still feel financially insecure, right? Still feel like they could lose it all one day. That no matter how hard you've worked, no matter how much you've accumulated, no matter how much proof you have to show you that you know how to make money, and even if you were to lose it all, you could still find another way to make it back because you did it once before. The fear of insecurity, of lack of safety connected to money or making money sits behind that. And so you're never fully free from it. Like, for me, I got really good at quote, quote, like reading people, right? And getting a sense of people, knowing who was safe, who was, who I could trust being around. And I leaned on that so heavily, and it got me to rooms, meetings, relationships, connections, positions, solely from me being able to read people and then as a result connect with them, right? And know how to establish a relationship from a very kind of real, honest place because I was looking for what was real and honest within them. However, sometimes because it also was a protective skill or originated from a protection, like a reason, like a protection reason, there were times in my life where I leaned really heavily into that, and I would judge people pretty quickly. And I would write them off pretty quickly because I'm like, oh, they're not safe. They're not trustworthy. They haven't, if I didn't pick up on certain things or didn't get certain senses, or if I felt like they were masking in any way, I wouldn't really give them more opportunities to prove otherwise. Because if I already got the sense that they weren't safe, why would I open myself up to that risk? And that led to like me potentially being more judgmental, being more closed off, me being wrong about some of the judgments and conclusions that I came to about people. And so when I could go back and really kind of get to the source of it, to understand that my like skill, as valuable as it was, still had this tinge of like fear connected to it, I would miss out on potentially really good connections and relationships because I was too quick to judge and I assumed that I was correct. And now I still use that skill, and I'm not to say I'm like totally healed because I don't know what total healing for all of us looks like. But now when I approach people, I'm constantly questioning my own judgments, right? I may see something and formulate a thought, but I always remind myself, or I try to always remind myself that I could be wrong, right? Or that I need to kind of get more information. Or, oh, there's a data point, there's an insight, or there's a conclusion that I might be drawing. Let's find more things to either validate or invalidate that. So there's a constant challenging of my own intake of information and the conclusions that I draw to make sure that I'm not too quick to judge. And I still do it sometimes, but I'm so much better than I was years ago. And because a big part isn't just evolving the skill, a big part is realizing that even if I'm wrong, even if I deem someone trustworthy and they turn out not to be, I'll deal with it, right? That my protective layer to prevent something bad from happening was no longer necessary. That if something bad did happen, that I could face it. That I could deal with someone betraying me, that I could deal with someone hurting me and hurting my feelings in another way, that I could deal with someone disrespecting me, right? Even if I let them in, that I didn't have to make the perfect decision. I didn't have to read someone exactly to make sure that everybody that I let in my life was perfectly safe, because nobody is perfectly safe. Life isn't perfectly safe. And so the real work wasn't in developing the skill to challenge my own thinking and my own conclusions. The work was really recognizing that, in short, I'm okay. That life can happen and I'll be fine. That no matter what shit comes my way, I'm not afraid to face it. That I will be able to deal with it. And even if I feel like I can't, that I'll do the work necessary to build the skills or to navigate a new problem, even if I've never done it before. And so the removal of the kryptonite is far more connected to understanding what we were trying to solve for in the beginning, what we developed the superpower to protect ourselves against, what we thought the superpower would save us from, and what the superpower could get us that we thought would kind of solve everything we needed. And we can have multiple superpowers. It isn't just one. Some of us have many, or a few. But, and sometimes people have superpowers that are born out of this very pure place of love and care, and they just double down on something that they knew worked. But more often than not, most of us oftentimes develop skills in response to defend, to take care of ourselves in a way because we felt like we needed that taken care of and that we needed to do something for ourselves to ensure that care. And so I don't say all, and I don't say every, and I don't say 100%, but if I had to guess, it'd be something in the 90+% range of us that develop our most powerful skills and our most, reliable strengths from places of pain and trauma and difficulty. And until we go back and heal that, we don't get to actually realize the full strength of the superpower. Because there's going to be a little something that holds it back. A little darkness, a little pain, a little fear, whatever it may be, that keeps it from being as full force and open as it can be. And if we can do that work to unearth the thing that kind of created the need for this defense in the first place, then we free ourselves from not only the kryptonite, but to actually realize our superpowers in its purest, most alive, strongest form. So I hope you take some time and think about what that may be for you.